Join Sports on Tap the first Thursday of every month at Z's Cream and Bean, 2706 Boston Road in Hinckley, Ohio, as Sports on Tap talks local Ohio high school sports, Cleveland sports, and national sports topics. It's all happening at Z's Cream and Bean the first Thursday of every month starting at 7:30 p.m. Join us. You're listening to Sports on Tap's Ohio high school football coverage live on Mixlr. Live streaming every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Remember to check us out on Twitter at SOT Podcast and use the hashtag SOTHSF to post scores, stats, and pictures from all your high school football games. Like us on Facebook and listen to all of our archive shows on iTunes, YouTube, and Podomatic. Again, our coverage starts every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. We're Sports on Tap. Welcome back to Sports on Tap. I'm Rob Trump. We have Josh Jeffy, Ed Dick, and Sean Duffy, who's part of the crew, here at Z's Cream and Bean, 2706 Boston Road in Hinckley, Ohio. And on a nice fall evening, want to welcome everyone.
Yeah, it's more like a summer evening.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it is. It
or
was a lot warmer today.
Late spring.
A lot warmer today, and it was awesome outside. And want to thank Z's Cream and Bean for hosting us here. They're part of our conference MVPs, and RRT Productions is part of the Ohio high school football coverage. They present that there, so want to thank them. And also NEO Sports Insiders, you can also find our podcast on their website. They're up and running with Matt Lodi, if you've heard of him. He's on WEOL, has been on Channel 5, on 92.3 The Fan. I want to thank them for hosting our podcast, and now we're kind of working with them there. So go to their website. It's neosportsinsiders.com. Great stuff on Cleveland Browns, Indians, Cavs, and high school stuff.
And they're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Absolutely. So I want to thank them. But now it's Week 7 coming up and some good games. Let's first start out in the Suburban League, and you can give your spotlight game as well, and we'll go through that.
Sounds good. We'll start with the American Division here. We have Revere, 2-4 overall, 0-3 in the conference. They're going to travel to Aurora. I'm sure they're not very happy after their recent loss. Aurora's 5-1 overall, 2-1 in the division. So we got the Minutemen visiting the Green Men. Barberton, 4-2 overall, 0-2 in the division. They're going to travel to Talmadge to take on the 1-5 Blue Devils. They are also 1-1 in the division. This is a non-conference game. Garfield Heights, 1-5. They're going to travel to Kent Roosevelt. Kent Roosevelt's 2-4 overall, 1-2 in the division. This is it's kind of a weird conference because there's only 7 teams in the division, so you're always going to have a non-conference game wrapped up in there. The Week 7 Spotlight game, Highland, no stranger to this game. They were just in the Spotlight game for Week 6, and they are going to travel to Copley to take on the Indians.
Big game.
Coach Mike Gibbons takes his 4-2 squad, undefeated so far in the American Division, to take on the undefeated overall Copley Indians. And guys, this is going to be a heck of a game. You're going to have two high-powered offenses here going after it. We're going to see the irresistible force against the immovable object here as far as offenses are concerned.
Yeah, Copley has really gone through their schedule and handled some teams pretty easily. So this is definitely going to not be one of those games. I think Highland is going to give them a fight. Now, if they can pull this off, you're looking at some major points for Highland. And, even the rest of the year, if they can win this game, I feel like, they can possibly go through the rest of their schedule and win some games. So a big-time game. I think if Copley wins this, this will really set them apart because Highland's one of those teams that you just can never take lightly no matter what their record is.
No, and Copley, right now they're sitting 4th overall, and they're sitting 4th in Division II, Region 3. I mean, so they're in a position to host a playoff game here. But after this game, I mean, they need to go. Then they go to Aurora. So I mean, Copley, Highland, and Aurora right now are probably the three. I'll say the three. I don't want to say the three best teams because I think Barberton's gonna have something to say about that. But right now, those are the ones that are in the best position, to make some moves in the playoff hunt. Like you said with Highland, if Highland can get this game, I mean they're looking pretty good. I mean they have a date against Barberton in week 9, but their other two opponents aren't doing as well as some of the other teams are. So, the Highland Hornets got another golden opportunity here to really pad their resume, get some points going in their favor, and progressing on forward. So we'll move on over to the Suburban League National Division. Bruxville Broadview Heights will host North Royalton. That's going to be a solid game. I mean, Bruxville Broadview Heights coming off their first loss, so we'll see how they respond against the 2 and 4 Bs. Cuyahoga Falls, they unfortunately may be the sacrificial lambs to Anthony Perrine again. They are going to travel. The Black Tigers travel to Nordonia in that contest. And then we have Wadsworth hosting Twinsburg. Wadsworth's 2 and 4, but they are 2 and 1 in their conference, and they are going to host an 0 and 6 Twinsburg team. We're starting to see Wadsworth kind of start to show what they're capable of, and this is kind of what I was talking about Wadsworth before, where I think Wadsworth is a team much like Nordonia, where they're, as the season wears on, I think they're going to start picking up some wins, and this is the type of game I'm talking about for Wadsworth. And unfortunately they're playing. Unfortunately for Twinsburg, they have a little bit of a down year right now, and they're running into a buzzsaw in the Grizzlies. So I would expect things to be handled accordingly there. My spotlight game is actually going on right now. It's between Stowe and Hudson.
Wow, that's going to be a great game.
That's a major game there. Stowe's 6-0. Hudson's 5-1, and you guys, this could be considered one of the de facto conference championship games. I think Hudson doesn't have a conference loss yet. Their one loss is to Strongsville, and Strongsville's sure as heck taking advantage of that with those computer points there.
Yeah.
Bruxville Broadview Heights already fell in Nordonia. So Stowe and Hudson, this is a big game for both teams. I mean, these are the only two teams right now that are in the playoffs if it were to end today. So this is a major game for playoff points on both ends there. Stowe in that rugged Division 1, Region 1. I mean, right now they're sitting number 5. Getting Hudson's points would significantly help their cause there, especially with some of the other teams in that region that are going to be picking up some victories that may or may not jump over them. So.
And just to give you a quick update, it is halftime with Stowe leading 14-3 over Hudson.
Wow.
There we go. And Stowe has not had too much success against the Explorers lately either. So this is, Stowe has had this game circled on their calendar all year, and they're really looking to make some moves in the division, and it runs through Hudson. And that's the ultimate decider right there. So we'll keep you updated. I'll have that score up tonight. So we'll have my spotlight games are to be taken care of tonight.
Yeah.
And I'll have the write up ready and whatnot for Monday. So great game tonight.
Yeah, great job, Ed. And yeah, that game, Stowe is a good defensive team, and I thought Hudson, might give them a real battle, and it's still a lot of game left. At 14-3, though, Stowe's defense has kind of stumped Hudson. Let's see what kind of adjustments Hudson makes at half. But great job, Ed, there. And now we'll move to the Greater Cleveland Conference. The Greater Cleveland Conference. And Josh Jeffy, Week 7, how's it looking?
Week 7, we got some big games. Now in the GCC, every game is big. Starting first with Medina travels. Medina 3-3, 1-2 in the conference, travels to Mentor, which is 4-2, 2-1 in the conference. Mentor and Medina both coming off losses. This is a big game for Medina, coming off 2 really bad losses. Mentor with a heartbreaker against Solon. So this is going to be a good game. Strongsville 4-2, 2-1 in the conference, travels to 4-2, 2-1. Solon, again, a big game. That's kind of the theme of the GCC. Every game is a big game. But Strongsville, again, coming off of a bad loss to Elyria. Solon, let's see how they can keep up with their good mojo going in from their victory against Mentor. Shaker Heights, 3-3 overall, 0-3 in the conference. Will travel to a very hot Brunswick team going right now. Brunswick back at home, 2-4 overall, 2-1 in the conference. They're one of the conference leaders, looking to again build on their 2-game winning streak, in which they've seen the young team grow in front of our very eyes, or at least in front of Ed's very eyes. And my spotlight game this week is Elyria 4-2, 1-2 in the GCC, traveling to Euclid, 4-2, 2-1 in the conference. Both teams coming off big wins. Euclid, with a victory, will be the leader of the GCC. And
wow.
And I'm sorry, Euclid, yes. And then Elyria, although they're 4-2 overall, they are 1-2 in the conference. Suffered a couple tough losses in the GCC. They're looking to get a victory and actually get back into the conference race. So this is a game that I'm going to be interested in seeing what happens there.
Yeah, I think when you look at Elyria, yeah, they suffered a tough loss to Brunswick. There's no doubt about that. But, I like this conference and the fact that, Brunswick started off over, for a little while, and now they have a few wins in a row. I think
they're building.
I think it would be a great story if they could continue, to win and maybe make a push towards the playoffs. I think that'd be fun. So, the Greater Cleveland Conference is a lot of fun to watch. Games are just up and down. I mean, you just never know. And I think now that Menor has 2 losses and lost 1 in conference, I think maybe that gives some teams confidence that, anybody can be beaten on any day. You just got to go out and give it your all. And I think Euclid is a team that's very impressive this year, as they have stepped up in the GCC.
Yeah, and, we talked about how tough this conference is, and just looking at Joe Eitel, the great Joe Eitel, when it comes to this time of the high school football season, you're constantly looking at his website. Every Monday comes out, he updates it. And, I got 5 out of the 8 teams in the conference, according to Joe Eitel, would be in the playoffs right now. And, again, these rankings are according to Joe Eitel. So you have number 4, you have the Menor Cardinals. And number 8, you have the Euclid Panthers. Number 11, you have the Strongsville Mustangs, even after coming off that tough loss to Elyria. Elyria, which we just mentioned, number 12 in the rankings, and then Solon will round out 15th in Joe Eitel's rankings. Top 16s in Division I, Region 1 do make the playoffs. And so you got 5 of the 8 GCC teams that are right in it. But, on the outside looking in, not too far down, you have Medina and you have Brunswick, 18 and 19 respectively. So, if Brunswick can get some victories in there and Medina can get back on their winning ways, they could be right into that mix too. So it's going to be – I'm looking forward to it. This is the primetime season right now.
Yeah, and what's funny is, Brunswick only has 2 wins and they're 19th. So, 3 spots up if they keep winning.
That's kind of the pros of being in the GCC. If you do get wins, you're going to get points. So that's why it's important to get these wins for a team like Brunswick, with only 2 wins, but it's barely out of the playoff race.
All right, Josh, great job with the GCC.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to the Southwestern Conference and looking at some Week 7 games. Starting off, this could have been my spotlight game, and if you want to go to this game, every radio station in Lorain County is going to this one. North Ridgeville at 5-1 travels to Avon 5-1. And Demario McCall, he hurt his shoulder, had a bone bruise. I would imagine he's going to play in this game. So
big game. It's an important game.
Oh, it's a very important game for both teams. That's going to be a fun one to watch. Now, Avon Lake at 3-3 travels to Berea-Midpark at 4-2. That also is going to be a good game because Avon Lake coming off of some tough wins, and Berea-Midpark coming off a tough loss at Olmsted Falls. So Berea-Midpark looks to win at home. Now, North Olmsted coming off a loss to North Ridgeville. They're 3-3. They travel to Amherst, who hasn't won a game yet. They're 0-6. But Amherst has played some pretty tough games. And North Olmsted, are they going to come out fired up? We hope so. But it's going to be a good game between North Olmsted and Amherst. Now, Lakewood, 0-6 on the year. They traveled to Westlake 0-6. So one of these teams is going to win for the first time this year. Will it be Lakewood or Westlake? That we'll find out on Friday night. And my spotlight game Olmsted Falls 5-1 travels to Midview at 6-0, and I think this is one of those games I'm interested to see if Linville, the running back for Olmsted Falls, is going to be in this game. Not sure what happened with him in their game versus Berea-Midpark, but he went out early on. Is he going to be back for this one? Midview, is going to go against a very tough opponent. I mean, Olmsted Falls is one of those teams that can run the football, and I think, they could pull a surprise here, but Midview, is Dustin Crum going to be back or not? That, I don't know yet, but that's going to be a great game at Midview. I'm sure it's going to be probably sold out, but, like I said, that's going to be a fun one to watch as Olmsted Falls can put up some points as they've shown. Their defense is pretty stout. Can they stop a Midview offense that seems like they haven't been stopped all year? Berea-Midpark did a nice job defensively against them, but they gave up 24 points. So we'll wait and see. But, again, 5-1, Olmsted Falls travels to Midview at 6-0, and it's going to be a fun game to watch. Now, looking at some of the rankings, and let me get this up here. You look at Midview. They're in Region 4. A lot of these teams are in Region 4 except two. Berea-Midpark's in Region 1, and they're ranked 17th in Region 1, and that's right in front of Brunswick, I believe, and some teams there. And Lakewood, obviously, is in Region 1 as well, and they're tied for last at 34th. Now, in Region 4, Midview is second in Region 4, along with North Ridgeville, who's third, and Avon is fifth. So you have Midview, North Ridgeville, and Avon in the top five. So three in the top five. Then Olmsted Falls right now in Region 4 is ninth. And you have Berea-Midpark right there. They're obviously in a different region. But Avon Lake is in the 4th region, and they are 15th. And North Olmsted is 13th right now. So, still a chance for some of these teams. And Westlake and Amherst are in Region 4. They're tied for 25th. But looking at, the top five, I mean, Midview is second and North Ridgeville third. So that's why this is a big game in Avon. Avon's fifth. One of these teams is probably obviously going to have two losses, but that's a big game.
Yeah, and you mentioned it's even bigger because we're talking about Region 4, and that's Division 2. And unlike Division 1 where the top 16 teams make the playoffs, in Division 2 they have 4 regions instead of 2, so only the top 8 teams make it. So it's even more vitally important that you get those victories and you get those points. So, like you said, Rob, it's a big game coming up for both teams.
Yeah, and thanks for explaining that because, when we first started, I didn't even know the top 8 qualify in different regions, and some are 16 teams. And in this, Perrysburg is actually number 1 in Division 2, Region 4. And then it's Midview, North Ridgeville. And then you look at Springfield, Avon, St. John's Jesuit, which is in the Toledo area. And then in the same division or in the same region is Medina Highland. They're in 7th, right in back of Avon there.
And then Glenville will round out at number 8. And, again, these are unofficial rankings according to Joe Itel. Great website, joeitel.com. You can follow him at Twitter at Joe Itel. Majority of the high school football people out there that are into high school football, they follow Joe Itel. It does a very good job putting out all the computer rankings. And then he also has links for the official OHSAA rankings. He has links you can click on there. So very good website. We use a lot here at SOT. Good stuff. So awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think when you look at all these teams, every conference, this is why we love high school football. You just never know from week to week. It's you think, all right, this team's going to just walk all over whatever team. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. But, it's fun to watch. And now is when we're going to start looking at the rankings. In the beginning there, you can't really look at the rankings. It's early on. You don't know what teams are going to do. But now you can kind of look and see.
Yeah, once you get past week 4, week 5, that's when things start coming into shape.
Yeah, and, it's fun to look in the GCC, too, when you look at you look at Brunswick taking on all these teams, and most of them are either 5-1, 4-2. That's how tough the conference is. And same goes for the Southwestern Conference. Yeah, you have a few teams that haven't won a game, but for the most part, they've taken care of business. A lot of teams 5-1 right now. But I think that'll start to change as some of the 5-1 teams are going to meet. And Midview, somebody's going to have to knock them out if they're going to want to take over in the Southwestern Conference. Now, if that happens, that's one thing to keep an eye on, because Midview right now is playing at a high level, and that's without their star quarterback, Dustin Crum. So I'm interested to see if he'll be back this week.
Yeah, indeed. Just looking quickly at the GCC, you have 5 teams that are 4-2, and then you have 2 teams that are 3-3. Then you have a 2-4. So they're real close together. And as far as the conference goes, you have Shaker Heights at the bottom at 0-3. You got 2 teams, Elyria, Medina, that are 1-2 in the conference, and then the rest of the teams. There's 5 teams: Menor, Strongsville, Euclid, Solon, and Brunswick, that are 2-1 in the conference. And again, we can't emphasize it enough that every game from here on out is important, not only for points but conference standings. So you could have possibly coming out of the GCC, 3 or 4 teams that might have 2 losses that make the playoffs, but that's because the conference is so tough and the points are plentiful.
And sometimes that's not in college football, you look at, playing tough teams and you don't want to schedule them early. But when you look at playing tough teams in high school, sometimes it's not a bad thing. You can have more losses.
Right, exactly.
And still make the playoffs. And, in the Southwestern Conference, Midview, they have, they continue to win there as they're undefeated. But Avon at 5-1. Then Olmsted Falls and North Ridgeville are 5-1. Berea-Midpark 4-2. Avon Lake and North Olmsted at 3-3, and then Westlake actually is at 0-6. I don't know why I have 1-6 already. It might have updated wrong, but Amherst and Lakewood at 0-6.
Are you predicting a victory?
Yeah, you know what? Maybe, but like I said, it's going to be a fun conference to watch, and we'll see what happens as it gets closer to playoffs. But want to thank again Z's Cream and Bean for having us out here. They present our conference MVP. Stop up to Z's Cream and Bean at 2706 Boston Road in Hinckley, Ohio. Have great soft serve ice cream, and they do serve food here. Have great chili, and come on a cold day as it starts getting colder, but you can still get ice cream. And also RRT Productions for presenting our Ohio high school coverage. If you're an athlete that want a recruiting video, contact RRT Productions. They make all kinds of recruiting videos for every sport and, among other things, weddings and things like that. So contact RRT Productions. I want to thank everybody for listening. We're Sports on Tap. We're live on Mixlr, and follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on iTunes. We're all over the place. For Josh Jeffy, Ed Dick, Sean Duffy, I'm Rob Troutman. Thanks for listening to our Ohio high school football coverage presented by RRT Productions. Have a great week, everyone. Good luck at your football games. And we'll see you on Monday, as it'll be a 7:30 start right here on Mixlr. See you later, guys and gals.